Welcome to the Deep Dive. We pull apart fascinating sources to find, well, powerful insights. And today we're tackling maybe the oldest question. How should we live? How do we handle challenges? How do we treat people? And how do we face the end? There's so many answers out there. Religions, philosophies, even science weighs in. But today's deep dive goes way back to an ancient philosophy that feels surprisingly potent for right now. Stoicism. Our main source is How to Be Stoic by Massimo Pigliucci. He's a scientist and a philosopher, and he kind of walks us through it, often talking with or about the ancient Stoic Epictetus. So our mission here is simple. Give you a shortcut. We want you to get the core ideas, the practical tools, basically a toolkit for well-being, but without getting bogged down. You'll get what Stoicism is, and maybe more importantly, why it seems to be working for people today.
And that's a really key point. Stoicism kicked off in Athens around 300 BCE, founded by Zeno. He was actually a Phoenician merchant, the story goes. He was shipwrecked, wandered into a bookstore, got hooked on Socrates.
Wow, really? Shipwrecked into philosophy.
Yeah, kind of a dramatic start. But his focus was super practical. How do you live your life to find ataraxia, that deep sense of calm, of tranquility? It's ethical at its core, sure, but it also pulled in metaphysics, science, logic, all aimed at living a good, flourishing life.
Okay, but here's what I find really interesting. Why now? Why is this ancient philosophy, which kind of faded a bit, having such a massive comeback in the 21st century? It's not just academics studying it, right?
No, definitely not. I was reading about this Stoic Week thing. It's run by the University of Exeter, working with academics and therapists globally. And get this, initial results from one of their international Stoic Weeks showed people reporting like a 9% increase in positive emotion.
Wow.
An 11% decrease in negative ones, and a 14% jump in life satisfaction. And that's after just 1 week of trying these practices. And the effects seemed to stick for those who kept going. That's pretty measurable impact from something ancient. It really is. It speaks volumes, doesn't it? And if you connect that to the bigger picture, look at modern psychology. Yeah. Stoicism's fingerprints are all over it. It heavily influenced cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Right, I've heard that connection.
Yeah, and REBT, rational emotive behavior therapy, even Viktor Frankl's logotherapy. It shows these core Stoic ideas about managing thoughts and emotions. They have lasting power. They really do offer a kind of blueprint for mental well-being that still works.
And Pigliucci, the author, he talks about his own path to it. He's a scientist, a philosopher. He found other secular views like new atheism may be a bit too harsh.
Strident. Right?
Yeah, strident. And secular humanism, while good, felt maybe a little cold, too reliant on just science. He was looking for a practical playbook for life, especially for dealing with, well, death. And Stoicism just spoke to that directly, gave him a framework.
And that brings us right back to why it resonates, I think. It's that laser focus on what you can actually control. That distinction, that line in the sand, it's incredibly powerful. It cuts through so much noise.
Exactly. That's the bedrock, isn't it? The absolute foundation, especially for Epictetus, is the dichotomy of control. It's right there at the start of his handbook, the Enchiridion, just clearly separating what's up to us, our opinions, choices, desires, aversions, from what's not up to us, our bodies, possessions, reputation, external stuff.
Yeah, recognizing where your real power lies.
Yeah.
And then what's fascinating is how they label everything outside that direct control. Indifference. It doesn't mean you don't care about them.
Right, not apathy.
Exactly. They're just not inherently good or bad in themselves.
Yeah.
But you can have preferred indifference like health or wealth or education, things you'd naturally prefer, and dispreferred ones like sickness, poverty, pain. Epictetus used Socrates' ball game analogy.
Oh yeah, tell us that one.
So life's like playing ball. The ball itself, the circumstances, that's indifferent. What matters isn't whether you catch it every time or score the most points by some external standard. What matters is how well you play. Your skill, your effort, your attitude, your choices in the game. That's the Stoic focus.
Okay, so how does that translate for you, the listener? It forces this huge shift in what you value. Pigliucci talks about Stoic prioritization or lexicographic indexing. Think of it like a dictionary list.
Right.
Virtue, your character, acting right, is at the very top in a category all its own. You just don't trade it. So, yeah, maybe trade some money, a preferred indifferent for vacation, another preferred indifferent. They're on the same sort of level.
That makes sense.
But you'd never trade, say, your integrity or a core relationship which relates to virtue for any amount of money or pleasure. because they're just not comparable. Virtue is incommensurable. This stops you chasing external stuff endlessly that hedonic treadmill psychologists talk about, because your real worth comes from inside.
And that internal focus connects directly to their view of human nature. They were influenced by Aristotle, seeing humans as unique because we're both rational and social animals. The key twist for Stoics was that our reason isn't just for thinking deep thoughts alone in a room. It's primarily for figuring out how to live well together, how to contribute to the human community, the cosmopolis. Even now, with everything we know from Darwin and anthropology, you still see these unique human universals across cultures. Calendars, funerals, jokes, tool-making. It points to that shared rational and social capacity they highlighted.
Which is underpinned by those 4 cardinal virtues, right? Which they got from Socrates. These aren't just ideals, they're practical skills.
Exactly. Daily practice.
So first, there's practical wisdom. Basically, knowing how to make good choices that lead to eudaimonia, that flourishing, ethically good life. Then courage, not just physical guts, but moral courage, doing the right thing when it's hard.
Crucial.
Third, temperance, self-control, avoiding extremes. And fourth, justice, which for them meant treating all humans fairly, with dignity. And these 4, they're all linked. And they are the only true goods. Everything else, indifferent.
That's the core framework.
Okay, but let's make this real. Stories make it stick, right? And the story of James Stockdale. Wow. U.S. Navy commander, shot down over Vietnam in '65, POW for over 7 years.
Incredible ordeal.
And he flat out says Epictetus got him through it. That dichotomy of control was his lifeline. He literally said to himself as he ejected, I'm leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus.
But that's powerful. And it led to the Stockdale paradox, right? That mix of, on one hand, absolute faith that you will prevail in the end, you can't lose hope, but on the other, the discipline to face the brutal facts of your current reality, however awful.
So no Pollyanna optimism, but no despair either.
Exactly. In the prison camp, the Hanoi Hilton, he was the senior officer. He organized the prisoners, created rules for resisting torture, for maintaining morale. He knew, like Epictetus taught, that shame and losing your integrity breaks you more than physical pain. He even managed to subtly mock his captors in propaganda films.
Just amazing resilience. It makes you wonder, though, can virtue like that actually be taught? The Greeks argued about it forever. What does modern thinking say?
Well, it's interesting. Modern psychology and biology sort of point to a mixed model. It looks like virtue comes from a blend of things. Our innate temperament, our habits, especially the ones we form early on, and our conscious thinking and reflection as we go through life.
So nature and nurture plus active effort.
Kind of, yeah. It fits with things like Kohlberg's stages of moral development and how we understand genes and environment interact. It's an ongoing process. Take Larry, this Professor Pigliucci writes about, who lived with polio. He had these really practical, stoic-like tips for building a personal philosophy, disability or not.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, first, realize your agency. Act like an agent, not a patient. Polio might limit your body, he said, but it doesn't have to destroy your power to choose or claim it. Second, focus on abilities, not disabilities. See limitations as dispreferred indifference. Ask, how can I do this? Not, I can't.
That's a powerful reframe.
Definitely. Third, know thyself, the Socratic thing. Understand your real limits. Avoid kidding yourself. Develop an internal alarm for when you're pushing to pointless suffering. Fourth, have a dynamic life plan. Reflect on what matters. Make a plan that's ambitious but achievable, and revise it as life changes. Fifth, strive for internal harmony, aligning your thoughts, desires, and actions. And he added a sixth, beware of brick walls. Know when to push, but also know when to quit banging your head against something immovable.
That's incredibly practical advice for anyone. And then there's Andrew, who used Stoicism for depression. He saw that depressed people can be hyper-aware but negatively focused, stuck in loops about past failures.
Right. And he applied the dichotomy of control. Realized his choices, his responses were in his power, even if the circumstances or the feelings weren't initially. He found that mindful repetition, doing the right actions even when you don't feel like it, which modern therapy confirms, gradually changes how you feel inside. He started seeing adversity as training, like a wrestler.
Embracing the challenge.
Yeah. Becoming an insult connoisseur, as Bill Irvine puts it, almost welcoming minor setbacks as chances to practice being stoic.
Okay, so it helps with adversity, even mental health challenges. But what about the biggest one? How do Stoics look at death?
They looked it right in the eye. They developed this view that Pigliucci calls unusual and empowering. Epictetus had this metaphor of the open door.
The open door.
Meaning, if life becomes genuinely unbearable, the option to leave is always there. Now that sounds grim, but paradoxically, knowing the door is open can give you the strength to endure really difficult situations when it is appropriate to endure. It's framed as a deeply personal judgment, a call of the cosmos, compatible with different worldviews.
So it's not about giving up easily, but about ultimate agency.
Exactly. Think of people like Betsy Davis choosing assisted dying with ALS, or Cato the Younger, or Seneca choosing death over dishonor in ancient Rome. But, and this is crucial, the Stoics would never condone using this rationale due to treatable mental illness, or for trivial reasons, or in a way that encourages contagion, like the Werther effect. It's a very specific principled stance for extreme, unbearable circumstances.
Understood. And what about the bigger picture, like God or nature? Is Stoicism only for atheists, or?
Not at all. That's actually one of the strengths, Pigliucci argues. The Stoic concept of the logos, the rational principle governing the universe, is flexible enough, or maybe ambiguous enough, that atheists, agnostics, pantheists, even traditional theists can find common ground. As long as the focus stays on cultivating your character, acting virtuously, and caring for others, the practical ethics, your specific metaphysics, don't have to be a barrier. Big Tent.
Okay, that makes it very accessible. So let's get really practical now. What are the actual exercises, the daily stuff you can do, right? The actionable takeaways. First, remind yourself constantly about impermanence. Epictetus is famously blunt. When you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, I am kissing a mortal.
Oof. That sounds harsh.
It does, initially, but it's not about being cold or detached. It's the opposite. It's about cherishing the present moment, the hic et nunc, because it's temporary. Pigliucci contrasts his experience with his father's death, where he struggled to accept it and felt regret, versus his mother's illness later, where applying this helped him be fully present and accepting, reducing the pain of regret.
Okay, I see. It's about deeper appreciation through acknowledging reality. And related to that is the reserve clause, fate permitting.
Fate permitting.
Yeah. Mentally tack it onto your plans, not just, I'll go to the gym tomorrow, but I'll go to the gym tomorrow, fate permitting. It builds resilience because, let's face it, things often don't go according to plan. It stops you from being brittle and easily thrown off course.
That's a simple mental switch, but I can see how it would reduce frustration. Okay, third.
Always ask, how can I use virtue here and now? Every single challenge, big or small, is a chance to practice. Epictetus said, if you see someone attractive, you find the power of self-restraint. If you face pain, you find endurance. If insulted, you find patience.
Like Pigliucci cutting his finger badly and immediately thinking, okay, what's the virtue here? Assess calmly. Worst case isn't that bad.
Exactly. It shifts your focus instantly from panic or complaint to constructive action to embodying your values. Fourth, pause and take a deep breath. Simple, but so hard. Resist that knee-jerk reaction. Seneca suggested a walk around the block if you feel rage building. Pigliucci uses bear and forbear. That pause creates space for reason.
That split second makes all the difference sometimes. Okay, fifth, insult pacifism. This one. How does this work in the real world, especially online? Epictetus says, slander a stone. What effect will you produce? Be like the stone.
Right. The idea is that insults only have power if you give them power, if you internalize them. If you react like a stone, the insulter has no effect on your inner state. It builds resilience, maybe even humor about it. But as you hinted, this needs wisdom.
Yeah, you can't just ignore everything.
Exactly. You need practical wisdom to tell the difference between a meaningless insult and valid criticism you should maybe listen to. And it's absolutely not about tolerating abuse or bullying. It's about reclaiming control over your emotional responses to mere words.
Got it. A crucial distinction. Sixth, speak little and to the point. Maybe good advice for podcasters.
Perhaps. It's partly a reminder, a bit humbling maybe, that we're often not as fascinating to others as we think we are. Focusing on listening more and speaking concisely usually improves interactions.
True. And finally,
daily self-assessment. Seneca's evening review. Look back at your day honestly. Where did you fall short of your values? Not to beat yourself up, but just to acknowledge it gently and resolve to do a little better tomorrow. Continuous improvement.
Okay, that covers a lot of ground for self-management. But what about relationships? Love, friendship, treating those as just preferred indifference. Doesn't that sound, well, cold? Uncaring, even.
That is the most common hurdle people have with Stoicism, and it's vital to understand it correctly. It's absolutely not about being cold or suppressing emotion. It's about guiding our natural feelings with reason. Remember Epictetus schooling the father who abandoned his sick daughter?
Yeah, that sounded harsh too.
But his point wasn't don't love your daughter. It was Your job as a rational, loving father is to be there precisely because it's hard, not run away because of your own pain. It connects to the Stoic idea of oikiosis.
Okay, what's that?
Oikiosis describes the natural process of expanding our circles of concern. We start caring for ourselves, then our family, then neighbors, community, and ideally, for a Stoic sage, all of humanity, the cosmopolis. It's about reasoned care, extending empathy outward based on our shared humanity, not shutting feelings down.
So it's about channeling love wisely, not denying it. The Greeks had all those words for love, right? Agape, eros, philia, storta.
Exactly, a very nuanced view. And the Stoics really valued philia, that virtuous friendship based on mutual respect and shared character, treating others as equals.
But even philia, even deep friendship, is still technically a preferred indifferent.
Technically, yes, it's hugely valuable, makes life far better, but it's external to your own core virtue. Your friend's character is theirs, yours is yours. True friendship, the friendship of virtue Aristotle talked about, needs that shared integrity. Look at Medea. She claimed love for Jason, but it led her to betray her family, commit murder. That kind of love, when it tramples virtue, isn't the Stoic ideal.
Okay, so for you, the listener, in your relationships, it's about aiming for love and friendship that strengthens your character, that aligns with your virtues, not compromises them. It's about principled connection. We've really covered a lot today. We've explored Stoicism from Zeno's shipwreck right up to James Stockdale in a POW camp, Andrew managing depression, and Pigliucci's own journey. It really does feel like a blueprint for finding calm, building resilience, and focusing on character in, let's be honest, a pretty chaotic world.
Absolutely. And connecting it all, the big takeaway isn't about becoming some unfeeling robot. It's about smart energy allocation, right?
Yeah.
Focus intensely on what's yours, your judgments, your choices, your actions. And for everything else, cultivate acceptance. That's where the real freedom and the quiet mind come from.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. We live in a world that constantly pulls at us, tempting us with external rewards, anxieties, distractions. What would actually change in your life starting tomorrow if you really took up the Stoic challenge Epictetus throws down? The Olympic contest is here, and you may put it off no longer. If you saw every moment, every interaction, every setback as your chance to practice virtue, to strengthen your inner self, just imagine that shift inside. We really hope this deep dive gave you some valuable tools and perspectives for your own path. Thanks for diving deep with us.